And now we would like to welcome Dwayne Keys, who is running for Rhode Island House District 9. And Dwayne is a community activist and president of the South Providence Neighborhood Association. Dwayne is running on a mission to provide greater unity to the Providence community. He is focused on improving housing, transportation, and income inequality, among other issues. Welcome, Dwayne.
Thank you so very much, Indivisible Rhode Island, for having me here to speak, as well as considering me for endorsement. So yes, I am Dwayne Keys. I am running for state representative for District 9 that covers most of Providence. We have about five different neighborhoods within District 9. They run west. And I want to say that I think it's the most diverse of all the districts and all the communities in Rhode Island as well. I definitely want to start off with reading a portion of my kickoff campaign message because I think that resonates and kind of summarizes what I'm looking to do. I'll actually provide you some key areas in terms of priorities as well as answer any questions. So our House District 9 and our state are enduring several challenges. A housing crisis including excessive cost burdens, unsafe and unsuitable living conditions, along with continued discrimination in accessing affordable housing. Our House District 9 and our state are also enduring additional challenges of wage and income inequity, inadequate public transportation, high cost of childcare, challenges in providing quality public education, and threats to social safety nets that our residents need for daily living. When facing these difficult times and in these circumstances, we need a strong, proactive, dedicated legislator who best represents our interests and how Rhode Island moves forward in resolving such issues. We also need to have a representation that presents solutions to tackle the root causes of these challenges, that helps ensure Rhode Island will move forward in a way that overcomes any and all negative impacts from the federal government, and that advocates and does work, placing the people of our district and our state in top priority in all legislative votes and all policy decisions. Most importantly, House District 9 and our state need a representative that is open and inclusive, that listens and follows through, that represents the majority and not a select few, that defends and protects those who have been excluded and marginalized from such participation in our state government, that respects different points of view and treats everyone with dignity, a representative that fosters the unity in the community that we all need and deserve. So with your support and vote on Wednesday, September 12th, we can all realize that goal of having that representative in me, Dwayne Keys. So again, I said, one of the things that my champion, my shero, has said about me, Councilwoman Mary Kay Harris, was, you are a voice for the voiceless. And I immediately said, well, I'm not understanding what that means, because, speaking up, standing up for people, standing up for myself, that's normal. That's what you're supposed to do. If something's wrong, you're supposed to say that's wrong, correct that, don't do that ever again. You're supposed to make sure that you uphold those standards for other people. And so when you find those who are vulnerable, you're supposed to be helping and defending them and making sure that they get at that same level as you. So for me, being involved as I have been with championing the issues of South Providence and seeing what's going on in District 9 as well as across the state, I find that there's only so much a neighborhood group can do, there's only so much a city council or town council can do. The next level that we identified in District 9 was we needed representation at that level that would open up these doors, that would make sure these hard conversations, and I'll get to my priorities in a minute, are being discussed, that are open, and that at the same time, applying that neighborhood skill that we have of making sure that the neighbors, the people, are heard in these rooms. Because at the end of the day, it's not, oh, I'm state rep, it's I'm your representative. So what do you want me to champion in that building? What is it that you want to, never mind, I have my priorities because those priorities are from what I have been talking with the constituents for so long. So the question is, okay, along with these priorities, what else do you want to have talked about? How do you want your state, our state, to be shaped and move forward? So the top number one is resolving our state's housing crisis in terms of reforming existing legislation and policies and practice that will withstand potential cuts Because as we talk about the Trump agenda, I know we've mentioned so many things, but one thing I haven't heard about is when it comes to housing, HUD. I don't know if anyone's heard, but there's a proposal that change and increase the minimum amount that they could pay for a low-income family from $25 to $150. So we want to increase that. When people are already struggling with $25, you think that's equitable. That's a problem. More importantly, if that happens, is our state in a position to be able to respond in a way to address that, to combat that? So, we would love to make sure we can take care of all the United States, but we have to make sure, at least in Rhode Island, we can address that and be able to withstand that. Are we prepared? Is our General Assembly ready for that? And if not, what do we have to do? Or do we have those people in place to make sure that we can address that issue? We also have a lot of abandoned and vacant properties. It's very hard for people who want to live here to sustain here and maintain those costs. Why aren't we talking about ways to help them with being able to live in those homes, take care of those homes, maintain those homes? And again, let's talk about alleviating costs to owners or paying the property taxes. Because I don't know if you saw your bill. Are you ready to be able to pay it on time, all together, and still have money left on over for savings to withstand anything else that happens? As well as our renters who are dealing with the costs as well. My second area is displacement. Normally, we talk about displacement with gentrification. We do have that issue, particularly in House District 9. We have a number of people who've been there for X amount of years and they're finding themselves priced out, they're having to move. But I take it a step further. Given my work that I do with financial coaching for low-income residents, in terms of helping them build assets, many of the things they talk about in Rhode Island, it's hard to find work here. It's hard to get to a job because I don't have adequate transportation. I'm looking in Massachusetts. I'm thinking about moving to South Carolina. I'm thinking about just going away. So when you have people who are struggling to be able to pay rent, live here, find a job here, go to school here, they want to improve, they want to advance. They're struggling though, and they have no way in terms of getting the access that we do have here to them. That's causing them to leave. That's causing our population to go down. That's causing this fear with the potential census in 2021. That's displacement. The third area, which wasn't originally part when I started, but as I've gone through this process and given my work and just what I've seen just for my advocacy for the 14 years, is eliminating poverty. I know some people say that's a long shot. I say it's long overdue. We are the smallest state in the nation. We have all the talent, energy, and resources that we need right here to combat that and to make that dream a reality. And everything from addressing our racial and gender wealth gaps to this discussion about wages. I mean, it's interesting that, I want to make sure that our businesses don't get impacted. How about this? Why aren't we talking about, why don't we make sure our businesses are as profitable as they can to make enough money to have their own profits and to pay that wage, particularly for our businesses in low-income areas and our businesses owned by people of color. Why isn't that part of the conversation? Why can't we have this win-win conversation? Why is this push and pull? Lastly, representation. So as chair of the South Providence Neighborhood Association, I've been in a direct position to be able to talk to neighbors directly. Again, what do you want? What's your concern? What's your issue? And then I simply go and research and open up that door, bringing those folks to the table so that we collectively, in a respectful manner, an open, inclusive environment where everyone can speak and hear and talk and get whatever the issue is out on the table. And then from there, once we get all the issues out, what do we need to do to address the problem? What policy, what legislation, what understanding, whatever it is, that is the representation. But we also need to do it in a way in which, like I said, it needs to be inclusive. It needs to be respectful. Even if I disagree with something that you may say, that's fine. That's your right. This is the United States of America. We are allowed, and that is part of our histories, that we are able to have different points of view. It's okay. But we need to make sure that we're communicating those differences in a respectful and decent manner, not what we see at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Lastly, along with the representation is also the advocacy. I saw with my shero that she said, I was like, part of what we were missing in Ward 11 was an advocate for Ward 11. It wasn't just, I'm going to do all these things, but we need someone advocating for us. making sure that our voice and what we want is communicated to the city of Providence. And so I say the same thing for House District 9. I want to make sure that what you want is communicated to the state of Rhode Island, and that everything that is impacting the state as a whole, House District 9 has its say in how our state goes. So I'm going to stop there because I definitely will allow for questions, but thank you so very much for this opportunity. Yes.
So in talking about things that we'd like championed, a lot of people in this room have worked really hard to try to move the Reproductive Health Care Act bill forward. It's got widespread state support, but unfortunately Mattiello won't move it forward. I'm hoping he's not re-elected, but that's a different conversation. If you are elected, would you agree to co-sponsor that legislation to move it along?
I will co-sponsor, I will sponsor, I will support, I will sign on, and I will use my own communication and relationship management skills that I can to move that forward. I am pro-choice, I support Roe versus Wade, and yes, 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 yes. Yes.
One thing the incumbent has been working on is the hair braiding, and basically excusing natural hair braiders from licensing. And would that something you would continue if that were not passed this year, which doesn't seem like it?
Yes, I would. I actually have supported that bill. I find that, again, when we're talking about the ability to get out of poverty, what better way to not burden, which in my assessment is not a type of skill which you need, nor are you going to be able to develop in the hairdressing schools that we see in Rhode Island. That's plain and simple. So in terms of being able as a economic justice and the opportunity to get out of poverty, no, we don't need to have regulation for that, and I would support that bill.
Can you explain that? I'm not sure what the bill is.
Oh, so I don't know the specifics, but basically we do have what's called natural hair braiding. You're not using any chemicals, you're not using any type of dyes or anything else like that. It is primarily a method of hair braiding by communities of color. And there was a proposal within regulations with one of the departments of business regulation that we wanted to start regulating and making sure those persons, not just entities, but persons who are doing it, had to then go to a certain amount of time for school to learn how to do it. But again, they're not being taught in those schools. And then they would have to pay the business licenses and the taxes that go along with it to be able to work in that field. Again, when you have a marginalized group that already has histories of land being taken away from them and other economic opportunities being taken away from them, the last thing that you want to do is now take, again, something that is safe, that has no issues, and again, it's not being private. We don't need to have a tax and business regulation on that. Use that opportunity for them to get out of poverty.
Yes.